My mother started her toast at my grandmother's retirement party with, "I have two daughters. One is a pediatric surgeon, and one who still waits tables at 32. The whole room laughed. My aunt started it, that sharp, champagne bubble kind of laugh that tells you everyone was already thinking the same thing. My sister, Dr. Priya, pressed her lips together in that way she does when she's pretending not to enjoy something she absolutely is enjoying. My grandmother, the guest of honor, didn't laugh, but she didn't say anything either. My cousin leaned over and whispered, loud enough for the table to hear, "Didn't you say you were going to run your own business by 30? More laughter. My uncle set down his fork and said with genuine pity in his voice, "I was sitting 3 seats away from my mother. I had driven 4 hours to be there. I had organized the entire venue, the catering, the flowers, the slideshow of my grandmother's 30 years of teaching. I had done all of it from my laptop, between shifts. I picked up my water glass, took one sip, and set it back down very carefully. Nobody saw me leave. My name is Dana, and for the last 4 years, I have been the person quietly holding together a business that my family built, nearly destroyed, and had no idea they were about to lose." Let me back up. My grandmother taught elementary school for 31 years in a small town in Ohio. She was the kind of teacher who kept letters from students she'd had in 1987. When she retired, the family decided to help her turn her property, an old farmhouse on 6 acres, into a short-term rental. A little income stream. A project to keep her busy. My mother had the idea. My uncle said he'd fund the initial renovation. My sister said she'd handle marketing when she had time. My cousin said he knew a contractor. You can guess where this is going. The contractor my cousin knew flaked after the demo phase. My uncle's funding came with 1,000 conditions and a lot of opinions. My sister's marketing plan consisted of creating one Instagram account, posting twice, and never logging back in. 6 months in, the farmhouse was half renovated, the listing was live on one platform with 3 blurry photos, and my grandmother had hosted exactly 2 guests, a couple who left a 3-star review because the Wi-Fi password was wrong. I was visiting for Christmas that year, when I sat down with my laptop and just started fixing things. I didn't make an announcement. I didn't ask for permission or credit. I just saw the mess and started cleaning it up the way I always do. I rewrote the listing from scratch. I took new photos with my phone and edited them properly. I set up dynamic pricing. I linked 3 platforms. I wrote the house manual, the welcome guide, the check-in instructions. I set up automated messages for guests. I fixed the Wi-Fi. By February, the farmhouse was fully booked on weekends. By April, it was averaging 4.8 stars across all platforms. By summer, my grandmother was making more from the property than she'd made in her last year of teaching. She called me every Sunday. She asked about pricing and seasons and which platform was performing best. She learned the dashboard. She was 71 years old and she learned the dashboard. The rest of the family noticed the money. They did not particularly notice me. What happened next was quiet and gradual, the way most important things are. My grandmother's property did so well that my uncle decided to purchase a second property, a lake house 2 hours away. He asked me casually, over a group text, if I could set it up the same way you did Mom's place. No discussion of compensation, no formal ask, just an assumption that I would. I said yes, because at the time I told myself family is family. I set up the lake house. It performed even better than the farmhouse because of the location. My uncle started talking about it at dinner parties like he was a real estate genius. Then my cousin wanted to convert his spare bedroom into a rental unit. Then my aunt wanted to list her beach condo in Florida during months she wasn't using it. Then my sister, the surgeon who was too busy for Instagram, decided she wanted passive income and bought a studio apartment specifically to rent short-term. Within 18 months, I was managing 4 properties that belonged to my family members, handling every platform, every guest message, every pricing adjustment, every maintenance coordination, every review response, from my phone, between shifts at the restaurant. I want to be precise about what this actually involved, because I think people hear short-term rental management and imagine something simple. I was the one who, At 11:30, on a Thursday night, talked a guest through a furnace issue at my uncle's lake house, while simultaneously answering a price inquiry on my grandmother's listing. I was the one who found an emergency cleaning crew in an unfamiliar city when a guest at my aunt's beach condo checked out and left it in a state I will not describe in detail. I was the one who filed the insurance claim when a pipe burst at my cousin's unit in January. I was the one who noticed that my sister's studio apartment was flagged for a zoning violation and quietly handled it before it became a problem. I did all of this while working 35 hours a week at the restaurant, where I was also, quietly, the person who fixed things. Which is how I had learned to fix things in the first place. My manager there had taught me operational systems, and I had absorbed everything. The family knew I was helping. They did not know the scope. Partly because I never said, and partly because they never asked. What they did know was that the money was good. My grandmother's property had generated almost $60,000 the previous year. My uncle's lake house had fully paid back his renovation costs in 14 months. My sister's studio had a 91% occupancy rate. At family gatherings, these numbers came up. My uncle would talk about his investment strategy. My cousin would say something about the power of passive income. My sister would mention how smart she'd been to buy in that neighborhood. And I would refill my own water glass and listen. The retirement party was in March. I had started planning it in January. My grandmother had spent 31 years showing up for other people, and I wanted her to feel that. I booked the venue, a restored barn about 20 minutes from her farmhouse, the kind of place with string lights and long wooden tables. I called former students and colleagues and gathered photos and stories for a slideshow. I coordinated with the caterer, the florist, and the AV company. I made the seating chart. I printed the programs. I did not tell anyone the extent of what I had done. My mother knew I was helping with the party. She did not know I was the party. The evening was beautiful. My grandmother cried during the slideshow. Former students who were now in their 30s and 40s came up to her with these expressions on their faces, like she had genuinely shaped something in them, which she had. The food was good. The flowers were right. And then my mother stood up to give her toast. I have 2 daughters. One is a pediatric surgeon, and one who still waits tables at 32. I have thought about that sentence a lot since then. The construction of it. The way she placed still to do maximum damage. The way she said waits tables instead of my name. The way she phrased it as a contrast, like a before and after, like Priya was the after and I was the before, and there was nothing more to say. The room laughed. My cousin, with the passive income monologue, said, loud enough for everyone, "Didn't you say you were going to run your own business by 30? My uncle with the lake house said, "Some paths just take longer, I guess." The implied finish to that sentence was, "Some people just don't have what it takes." I picked up my water glass. I set it back down. I was very careful not to break it. I went to say goodnight to my grandmother privately, in a side room where the coats were kept. She held my hands and said, "I see everything you do, sweetheart. I always have." I drove 4 hours home. I did not respond to the group text that went around later that night saying what a great party it had been. I did not call anyone. I did not make any dramatic announcements. I just stopped. Before I tell you exactly what happened next and what those first 48 hours looked like, I want to ask you something. Have you ever been the person who holds things together so quietly that the people you're holding things together for don't even know you're there? Drop it in the comments. I genuinely want to know. The first signal came from my cousin. It was a Tuesday morning, about 10 days after the party. I was opening at the restaurant when my phone buzzed. "Hey, got a guest asking about late checkout at the unit. What do I tell them?" I looked at the message for a long time. I put my phone back in my apron pocket. I did not respond. By noon, there were 3 more messages. The guest had asked the platform directly and gotten an automated response that didn't answer the question. My cousin had tried to log into the management software and couldn't remember the password. He was asking me to send it. I was refilling someone's coffee when I felt my phone buzz again. I did not check it until my break. "Dana, kind of urgent, can you call me?" I finished my shift. The following morning, it escalated. My uncle called at 7:45. Dana, I'm getting a notification that the lake house listing has been paused. What does that mean? Did something happen? What had happened was that the platform had flagged his listing for an overdue response rate update, a routine thing that I had always handled within 24 hours. Without me monitoring it, it had slipped past the window and triggered an automatic pause. It was a completely fixable problem. It would have taken me 4 minutes. You'll need to log into the platform and submit a response rate review request, I said. There was a pause. Can you just do it? He said. I have a meeting in an hour. I'm actually at work, I said. You'll need to log in yourself. I can walk you through it if you want, but I can't access your account directly. Another pause, longer this time. Since when? Since I decided to stop doing things without being asked properly, I thought. What I said was, I think it's good for you to understand the platform you're using. I can stay on the phone while you do it. He did not want to stay on the phone. He said he'd figure it out and hung up. He did not figure it out. The listing stayed paused for 3 days. He lost 4 bookings. That same week, my aunt's beach condo had a guest with a question about parking that sat unanswered for 19 hours. The guest left a 2-star review specifically mentioning unresponsive communication. It was the first review below 4 stars the condo had received in 2 years. My sister called me on a Friday evening. Something is wrong with my listing, she said. I'm barely getting views. Your seasonal pricing hasn't been adjusted, I said. You're priced for summer rates right now, but we're in shoulder season. You need to drop the base rate about 18%, or the algorithm is going to keep pushing you down in search. Silence. Can you fix it? It's your account, I said. I can show you how. Dana, I have a 12-hour shift tomorrow. I don't have time to learn a dashboard right now. I understand, I said. When you have time, I can walk you through it. She did not have time for 2 weeks. During those 2 weeks, her occupancy dropped significantly. She texted me 4 times. I answered every text with a clear explanation of what she needed to do and offered to be available by phone while she did it. She did not take me up on it. The one that stayed with me the longest was my grandmother's. The farmhouse had been running so smoothly for so long that nobody thought about it anymore. It just made money, the way a garden just makes tomatoes if you don't think about the person who waters it every day. My grandmother called me on a Sunday, which was our usual day. The guest checking out today left the door code wrong, she said. The couple coming in tomorrow won't be able to get in. Okay, I said. Log into the keypad app and reset it. I'll text you the steps. I have the steps, she said quietly. I know how to do it. She did know how. Because she had paid attention. Because she was the only one in the family who had ever asked me to teach her instead of just asking me to do it. I'm proud of you, I said. I'm proud of you, she said back, for all of it. The conversation with my mother happened about 3 weeks after the party. She called on a Wednesday afternoon. I almost didn't answer. Then I thought, she's still my mother. I picked up. I've been thinking about what I said at the party. She opened. I waited. Priya said it came across wrong. I didn't mean it as a criticism of you. I was just making a joke, I said. It was a toast, she said. Things come out differently than you plan. I sat with that for a moment. A toast, an accident, just words. Mom, I said, do you know what I've been doing for the last 4 years? Silence. I know you help with Grandma's rental, she said. I manage 4 properties in this family, I said. I have for 18 months. I handle pricing, platforms, guest communication, maintenance coordination, and compliance. I have done this without a contract, without compensation, and without anyone asking me to stop. I did it because I care about this family. More silence. I didn't realize it was that much, she said. I know, I said. And then, because it was true and because I had earned the right to say it, I'm not the family joke, Mom. I'm the person who's been running a hospitality management operation out of my phone for 4 years. I just never told anyone because I thought the work would speak for itself. I was wrong about that. She was quiet for a long time. I'm sorry, she said. It came out small and unpolished, not like the speeches she gives at parties. It sounded like something real. Thank you, I said. We stayed on the phone for another hour. It wasn't a movie moment. There was no swelling music. She didn't fully understand it all in one conversation, and I didn't expect her to. But something shifted. The way things shift when the truth finally has enough room to breathe. Here is what happened after I stopped doing everything silently and started doing things on my own terms. I had a conversation with each family member. I explained, clearly, what I had been managing and what I was willing to continue doing as a professional, not as an invisible favor. I sent a simple one-page document laying out a management fee structure. Standard industry rate. Between 15 and 25% of gross revenue, depending on the property and level of involvement. My cousin called it a lot. I pointed out that his unit had generated just under $40,000 the previous year and that he had spent approximately 0 hours managing it. He signed. My uncle pushed back harder. He talked about family and what we do for each other in ways that were meant to make me feel guilty. I listened to the whole thing and then said, I agree that family helps each other. I've been demonstrating that for 4 years. I'd love to keep helping. Here's the document. He took a week, but he signed. My aunt and my sister signed without much argument. I think they had spent enough weeks fumbling with dashboards and watching their reviews slip to understand, concretely, the value of what they'd been receiving for free. I gave my notice at the restaurant that spring not dramatically, not as a statement, but because I had enough income from the management fees to support myself in time to actually grow what I'd built. I registered a proper LLC. I built a real website. I started taking on clients outside the family. I still talk to my grandmother every Sunday. She tells me about the guests and the seasons and what the farmhouse looks like when the light is good in late afternoon. She has never once called what I do a small thing. I think about the version of me sitting at that birthday table a lot. The woman who organized the whole event and then sat quietly while her family used her work as a backdrop for jokes about her life. I don't regret staying quiet as long as I did, because that time built something real. But I do regret believing that the work would explain itself, that being indispensable would eventually translate into being seen. It doesn't work that way. You have to say the thing out loud. The most painful lesson wasn't that my family underestimated me. It was that I had helped them do it, by making my contributions invisible, by never asking for what I was worth, by confusing love with erasure. That stops the moment you decide it stops. There is a version of this story where I walked out of that party and became bitter, where I pulled the plug on everything just to watch things fall, and called that winning. That's not what I wanted. What I wanted was to be seen accurately. To do work I was genuinely good at, and have that work count for something in my life, not just in theirs. To stop being the family's best-kept secret and start being my own loudest advocate. I am 32 years old. I run a short-term rental management company. I have clients in 3 states. I built it between restaurant shifts, on a phone, in the margins of a life my family thought was going nowhere. They were wrong. And now, finally, they know it. Don't be the person who keeps the whole house standing while everyone else argues about the view from the balcony. Or if you are that person, and I know so many of you are, make sure you send the invoice.